Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Man, I get in here after looking at the news last night and this morning, and I just think, what am I going to cover? Not because there isn't a lot of news. There is just too much of it, and it all just gets crazier and crazier and more interesting by the minute. Well, it's been discovered, found after 500 years, the wreck of the Christopher Columbus flagship, the Santa Maria. That's the type of news we're going to be talking about here today. Warren Buffett gives $1.2 billion to abortion groups. Yes, he's a eugenicist. We're going to be explaining that today. Coal rules will devastate the U.S. economy, say business groups. Well, that's the plan. We're going to be breaking that down. Hedge fund titans are testing the quality of U.S. democracy. Financial Times of London just admits the big hedge funds basically run the government. Yeah, they lobby for higher taxes on the middle class and no taxes on themselves. They're the ones that lobby to take our guns. And you'd say, why are the big banks and hedge funds and investment banks doing that? Because they've taken the country over by criminal action. And now they don't want us ever getting it back. They want to secure what they've conquered through fraud. And the Rolling Stone, even CNBC, Financial Times of London, they all admit what we've been telling you forever, that central bankers rule the world because they have unlimited fractional reserve banking, fiat, derivative, counterfeit instruments. And until we focus on that and how it's illegitimate and how it gives them a monopoly of currency and credit, things are only going to get worse, folks. Oh, and by the way, what's the mindset? What is the piloting directive, the prime directive of the globalists? Eugenics. And not your granddaddy's eugenics that he was told about where, oh, we get rid of the poor people and build up the middle class. No, 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 no. They sold the middle class on that in the last 170 years. In Europe, the United States, and England, it was always targeting the middle class. So there's no debate about eugenics. Is it good or is it bad? It's targeting the best people. It's targeting the competitors of the establishment. So it's a lie even in the way it's taught, and you don't learn what real eugenics is until you become basically an inter-party member. And that will dovetail into Warren Buffett, who's given himself more than $50 billion tax-free to his own tax-free foundation that runs for-profit businesses. Then they take part of the profit and give it to federalization, corporatization of education, abortions, anti-gun groups. I mean, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates give to groups that want to take your guns. They're bigger donors than Bloomberg, but you never hear about it. Warren Buffett has this whole act like he likes to play tennis and eat ice cream cones, and he loves the children, and he wants rich people to pay more taxes because he's the one who literally is the biggest beneficiary of the bailout and doesn't pay taxes on it. So he says he wants the rich to pay more taxes because he's not. And he makes it, oh, that person making $100,000 a year, they should pay taxes. And I know I say this every day of the 3 hours because it's the key to everything. If we have a national debate about how these insiders are exempt from the system they're putting on us, they're not just exempt from some other system, they're exempt from the system they're putting on our backs. And they've got us going uphill carrying a rucksack full of boulders while they're on a magic carpet flying around telling us how lucky we are to be carrying the rocks up the hill for them. And I personally am tired of it. I mean, you could take fiat currency and fiat systems properly deployed and build a powerful civilization with it. But it always allows the evil people to dominate, cut corners, and cheat. Then they become decadent. Then they believe they're God's gift to the earth through fraud. Then they say, hey, there's 7 billion people. We ought to kill a bunch of them. We've already taken the planet over via fraud. We don't want to have all these people on our planet eating our food, messing up our paradise. So now they're saviors of the planet when really they're just usurping criminal scum. We are here live, back weeknights, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News with an original transmission 5 nights a week. Then the live Sunday broadcast, that is 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time as well. The news websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Where to begin today? There's quite a bit to go over. Interesting news, obviously. And then we do have several guests joining us. Wolfgang Halbig, former state police officer, and runs one of the largest school training safety organizations in the country. He's also been a school principal after he's in the state police in, I think it was Florida. But the whole point is that he's done an investigation, and he says, looks like Sandy Hook's totally staged. And we know they've declared state secrets on it, bulldozed the school. He went to the school board meeting, and they actually turned the cameras off, shut everything down, and wouldn't let him speak even in the allotted time. So they're acting very, 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 very suspicious. And, folks, if they'll pull off all the hoaxes we've seen, like Fast and Furious, you name it, they will pull anything off. And we're going to get an update from him coming up, because yesterday it was in national news that they shut down that school board meeting. So we'll re-pull that article as well and get to that. Here's the headline. Newtown School Board shuts down conspiracy theorist, Discovery.com. See, if you don't believe known certified liars, if you question Obama saying there is no $5,000 fee per employee who doesn't get Obamacare kicking in 2015, and on many businesses in 2014, if you don't believe Obama when he says a bald-faced lie, you're a conspiracy theorist. Or if he says you didn't build your small business and you say, yes, I did, you're a conspiracy theorist. Or if, you know, he says raising the debt limit doesn't raise the national debt, and you say it does raise the national debt, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you say 2 + 2 = 4 and not 5, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you say that birds fly and that ducks quack, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you say the government is completely out of control and militarizing against us, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you point out that our government's publicly funding al-Qaeda and running them worldwide, they'll admit it's true, but still call you a conspiracy theorist. So we're going to get him on. And then we've got Joel Gilbert, who made the film Dreams of My Real Father, really devastating Obama, and why his wife said he was from Kenya in all those speeches, why his Harvard Review Journal that he was the editor of said he was born in Kenya, and why they acted the whole time like that was a conspiracy, and we bought into one level of it. It was agitprop that Steve Pachinik was talking about, agitation, propaganda, and I should be more sophisticated, but it took us years to figure out why they put out such blatant fake birth certificates, why they admitted he was from Kenya. We're like, they admit he's from Kenya. They've declared national security in Kenya to cover it up. He looks nothing like his father, though, and it's because we know who his dad really was, a famous communist and pornographer in Hawaii. Photos of his mother, you know, there with him, and then Obama later on the same couch where the pornos are filmed. Betty Page-style stuff. I mean, it's just amazing. Well, I wanted to get him back on to talk about his latest project and a lot of new things that are breaking. And it's a new project. There's no place like Utopia. He takes a journey across America to find out what's at the end of the progressive rainbow. So very important, kind of in the same line as the new Dinesh D'Souza film, if he doesn't go to prison, that's coming out July 4th. And Obama Deception. It's funny. It's really about what progressivism, socialism, globalism creates and the choice between it. So I would like to release that in the summer if I can. I'm just, again, completely overwhelmed, ladies and gentlemen, with a lot of family stuff and other things that have gone on. But the info war is growing as people wake up, and we're just so blessed and thankful to be here live, ladies and gentlemen. So that is coming up today. Let me just go over some of the headlines here that we have for you today. This is some of the news up on Infowars.com. While smearing liberty lovers as terrorists, DHS lets actual terrorists into America. And we've told you this forever, but now it's confirmed via Judicial Watch lawsuits. Boy, they do a great job. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Major al-Qaeda operatives, you name it, are ordered to be allowed into the United States because they're really double, triple agents of the globalist, just like 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia and were ordered to be allowed in. months before 9/11, even though they've been at a Malaysian terror summit. And I had the head of the visa section from Saudi Arabia on, U.S. citizen, but he was in Canada at the time, Springman, and they were told these guys are really CIA, Muhammad Atta, all of them, let them into the country. But there it is right there. People say, well, then are you saying they didn't hijack and fly the planes in? I don't know. I know they were at military bases. I know they were protected. I know the head of the Defense Language School, Colonel Butler, went public in AP and San Jose Mercury News first, weeks after 9/11, saying, I don't know exactly what happened here, but these guys worked for the government. I trained them here in high-level spy training at the Defense Language School, and this thing is staged. There needs to be an investigation. Okay? So you can go see the full article up on Infowars.com. While smearing liberty lovers as terrorists, DHS lets actual terrorists into America. Continuing, Greenwald. Criticism of President Hillary will be labeled misogynistic, just as any opposition to Obama will be labeled as racist. Don't like putting higher payroll taxes on poor people under Obamacare? You're a racist. Another important article of economic cycle theorists are correct. 2015-2020 will be pure hell for the United States. The Fed is the great deceiver. Great article by Paul Craig Roberts, because it's not even the Fed. And then a very important article by BizPac Review. We're falling for Obama's wag the dog moment, says Colonel Allen West. Former Congressman Allen West was questioned, and has questioned the timing of the Obama administration's focus on the kidnapped Nigerian schoolgirls, saying it's fishy to him. Again, the former Army colonel said, and former congressman. Ladies and gentlemen, it's more than fishy. Hillary Clinton put Boko Haram in a no-penalty box to protect them, just like they have a list of terrorists that are allowed to come in the U.S. and are left alone. So that article, the Allen West article, dovetails. We'd have one of our people do a story on that. Dovetails with the DHS terrorist walk list. Because the real terrorists, folks, are precious little angels to the New World Order. This is how they get to invade all these countries, take all our liberties. I mean, really, it's an easy equation to understand. That's why they attack the premise 2 + 2 = 4, because it's hiding in plain view. But Boko Haram, even the establishment Rhodes Scholar, best-selling author Naomi Wolf has come out and said that clearly Boko Haram, clearly, they are a CIA globalist front, created the year Obama got in the administration. And that's why it's so sick to see them using it as an excuse to invade Africa and militarize it, as they use Libya they've taken over the last 3 years as a new al-Qaeda base. And to have her on MSNBC, that really freaked them out. Naomi Wolf suggests Boko Haram is a CIA conspiracy. And they've got the Neocom site, Front Page Mag, that's been critical of me, I know, come out and say Naomi Wolf endorsed the burqa despite building a career around claiming to be a feminist. Now she's opposing the plan to stone gay men under Sharia law. The one suspects that opponents, because she opposes TPP, a free trade agreement involving, and it just goes on, Brunei. Why would anybody on the so-called right be defending Hillary Clinton right now when she made sure they didn't get on the terror list so that funds could keep going to them? That's mainstream news. She got criticized when she did it 6 years ago when Obama got in office. And why would they then tie it in to her other statements to discredit her? It's just amazing. Because the truth is, at the top, the establishment does not want it known that the globalists are creating most of these radical Muslims to, again, be used to scare us into submission, to destroy our way of life, and to secure the criminal takeover. The entire Homeland Security apparatus is on record pointed at the Tea Party, conservatives, libertarians, returning veterans, Christians, and pro-lifers. It's publicly pointed. This broadcast 6 years ago got the secret documents, exposed it here. It was unbelievable at the time to people. Now it's like, yeah, tell me something I don't know. Okay, well, now it's in Forbes, and it's in the Washington Times, and it's in the Associated Press, and it's on the Discovery Channel that the Army's main domestic mission is taking on gun owners. That's high treason. We should not just accept this now. They didn't want it exposed because they wanted to secretly build this takeover. We exposed it so it woke the military up because they're decompartmentalized. Now we've got to dismantle the domestic military that's totally unconstitutional, that's being built and pointed at the American people for a total hardcore takeover. We're going to be back with Warren Buffett's latest outrages. Thank you so much for joining us on this live Tuesday, the 13th day of May, 2014. Let me just give you some of the headlines, and I'll get into the Warren Buffett story. Study: people ignored on Facebook feel isolated, less meaningful existence. Other studies show the same thing for people that use computers more than 3 hours a day. We'll be getting into those studies. Also, we're going to give you the latest on the whole situation in Africa. That's the wag the dog for Obama, with Boko Haram leader running around in CIA central casting. Also, a video that just went up on Infowars.com with a full article is unbelievably shocking. Radio listeners should go watch it. Cops attacked family with tasers and pepper spray for having party in their own home. And more, I hear about people even having genteel parties. And the cops are so afraid of parties of large groups that they send SWAT teams. And most police departments are converting large segments of the force to, quote, SWAT teams, even having them in areas like Denver run highway checkpoints randomly. You pull up to guys in masks with guns like you're in central Mexico or something. So we're going to be getting into that. Also exclusive, after 500 years, one of the biggest nautical undersea discoveries ever. The flagship of Christopher Columbus, they believe they found. We'll tell you about that. And brain science fires up neurons of managers. Former Israeli PM Ehud Olmert handed 6-year jail sentence for reportedly receiving millions of dollars of bribes. Folks, at that level, they're almost all involved in it in these major Western governments. And I'm not defending Ehud Olmert, but that is a tit-for-tat political thing against him. You got to wonder what he did that made somebody mad. That's just how it works. They can always find something. You can fill out your checkbook wrong in the online. The FBI will call it wire fraud these days. It's a totally corrupt system. We have the largest prison population in the world in this country. And they don't care if it's open tyranny. You can send drones out to kill U.S. citizens, you get a medal. Now, let's get into the really serious news. Warren Buffett has given $1.2 billion to abortion groups. May 13th, 2014 marks 1 year since Philadelphia abortion Dr. Kermit Gosnell was convicted of first-degree murder in the deaths of 3 babies who were delivered alive and then killed. I thought they're fetuses, though, because they were real babies. There they are, babies. With scissors at his grimy House of Horrors clinic. As long as it's clean, it's okay, I guess. According to the Associated Press, Gosnell instantly became the face of abortion in the pro-life community. And again, here's my view on abortion. I don't judge people that have been involved in it. If they thought it was birth control, they were young, they were poor, it was first trimester, you didn't think you were killing a child. I'm not a hypocrite, okay? But as you grow and you learn what's going on, you learn there's more people that want to adopt than there even are abortions every year. That's why there's such a big export of babies from outside the U.S., mainly from Asia. That's why you discover that it's about a eugenics program of being anti-human. And then you learn that we're only getting about 1.3, 1.4 Americans born for every 2 adults. We won't even be able to pay Social Security and everything. The West is dying, in the words of Pat Buchanan, he wrote a book called that, showing the demographics of it. The West, Germany, all of it. Japan is in the West. It's dying. The most advanced, most intelligent, high IQ countries, on average, are gone. They're already gone. There's no reversing it. And these are the countries where the biggest push goes to don't have kids. So it's the West committing suicide. Look at that headline. Millennials too realistic to have children. Huffington Post. And look, if you don't want to have kids, more power to you. That's your business. But they're setting up this tax system and everything where you can't afford to have kids. And it's a eugenics program. But the point is, Warren Buffett's put more than $50 billion in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that he partners and chairs with them. And it's all his private companies end up, the profit is tax-free, and is put in that. Then they take the skim off the top, his mansions, his helicopters, all of it. He has a small house in Omaha, part of a stage deal for the public, and, you know, ice cream cones he eats on TV, little non-threatening old man. He owns big banks that are the majority launderers of drug money, and that lease the aircraft to fly the narcotics. I mean, that's AP, Bloomberg, you name it. But, oh, he's Warren Buffett. He's sweet. Meanwhile, the cops are going to come to your school with checkpoints in the hallways to try to find marijuana. It's totally evil. It's totally evil. If you found us, you have discovered the very tip of the spear when it comes to promoting liberty worldwide. And we have our motto here, 2 + 2 = 4, not 5 like Obama says. That's because we're proudly conspiracy theorists. We question well-known, certified, pathological criminal liars. We don't believe pathological, known, certified criminal liars. We are bad people. All right, I want to get to a plethora of special reports and a bunch of other news that I've mentioned but haven't dug into yet. But finishing up with Herr Buffett, who uses taxpayer money like a buffet for his giant criminal operations that he runs worldwide. So we've got this article out of Fox News talking about how he is the biggest pusher and funder of abortionists after Bill and Melinda Gates. The so-called Oracle of Omaha has donated more than $1.2 billion to abortion organizations in just the last 12 years. That's equal to the cost of roughly 2.7 million first trimester abortions. More than twice the number of abortions that occur in an entire year. Yeah, in the last 12 years, he's funded more than 2 years of the abortions. Unlike Gosnell, however, everything Buffett has done has been entirely legal. But Buffett does share something else in common with the abortionists. Both their stories have been largely unreported. Wow, what a powerful article by Fox News, by Dan Gaynor. We ought to try to get Dan Gaynor on, because it goes on to show what an abortionist kingpin Warren Buffett is. So people are going to jail for killing babies out of the womb. What about him funding this undoubtedly going on out of the millions of abortions that this man has funded out of the 53 million that have happened since Roe v. Wade? And by the way, if you watch my film Endgame, Warren Buffett is no doubt in an intelligence agency from a very young age. He has no doubt been working with Bill Gates' father, who was in Army intelligence, and no doubt helped set up the management teams through different intelligence agencies to have IBM covertly fund a new doppelganger known as Microsoft. I mean, I've done the research on this, okay? And these companies fight with each other at times. They compete with each other at certain levels. But back in the 70s, into the 80s, still antitrust laws were enforced in this country. And IBM could not start, you know, sell the computers and have the software. So they basically gave that, if you research it, and gave the monopoly to Bill Gates. It's totally fake. And then you understand that Watson, Thomas Watson, and then his sons and the rest of them literally donated almost the full wealth of the IBM dynasty to, well, Adolf Hitler until Watson died. Until World War II ended, but he went on for a while before he died. and that's why the computers are integrated to control and dominate, because from the beginning, it's been about carrying out eugenics. This is a eugenics cult. You know the tattoos that were on the concentration camp in terms of how many calories to give them, how long they should be worked, should they be killed. Those were put into the Hollerith race mixing machines that were first used in the 20s in New York City under Margaret Sanger's directives. And then they would do a Hollerith test on poor white kids, black kids, it didn't matter. And then they would decide and say, well, the machine said so, whether you were going to be sterilized. They have even PBS documentaries on this. If you made under a B+ in public school and came from a single-parent family, they would then come to your house and grab you and take you away and sterilize you, male or female. That then got deployed into Germany to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute and the Rockefeller Family Institute and Foundation. I mean, this is all best-selling, Pulitzer Prize-winning books on the subject. This is on record. All came out during Nuremberg, but nobody over here got in trouble. And then you go, well, wait a minute. Why then, if they wanted to sterilize people that had single parents, and they know single parents statistically causes more crime and problems, why did they then, by the 60s, decide to fund single parents? Well, they shifted the plan. They said, no, we're not going to have eugenics where we actually try to get rid of what we see as non-productive people, which I'm not even defending that, but you can see the argument. We're going to go after the smartest people and put social engineering on them not to have kids and cultural engineering, and we're going to go in and pay the poorest people to not be productive and just literally have them be our minions, and then we'll recruit from them our enforcers, our bureaucrats, our governing class in the next phase. Then we'll set up a technocracy in the future when that technology's been developed, and then we'll just exterminate everyone once our technocracy's in place with the computers and robots. And we're now entering that final phase of a total blueprinted plan. And that's what you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is all on record in my film, Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement, almost 3 hours long. It's really like 3 films. And get it on DVD at InfoWarsStore.com. Watch it in high def at PrisonPlanet.tv or see it medium res on YouTube. It's only got like 4 million views on YouTube or 4.5 million views on one. If you add it all up before it got taken off Google Video and they got rid of that, it had about 8 million views on there. But, I mean, this film's only been seen 14, 15 million times that I know of on the big platforms, and it should be seen more. I mean, production-wise, it's good production, but it's scholarly, but also somewhat riveting and captivating to see reality. And it tells you and breaks down and proves why the globalists are doing what they're doing and what their plan is. I mean, it's just look, there's a public plan. The information is out there. People ignore it at their peril. I want to get into some other news here and then play this incredible audio and video out of Houston of the police SWAT teaming just a family birthday party. Get together. Because they felt threatened by a group of people. But before we go any further, I cannot stress to you the fact that I'm under more stress than I've ever been under, and that I'm performing better under that stress than I've ever done. And it's undoubtedly, I mean, I'll tell the story now. This is so important. I ran 6 miles every other day. I lifted weights every other day. And I ate like a pig. And I drank as much beer as I wanted to. For the time I was about 18 to 22. Not a lot of beer, but, you know, went out with the buddies, went out two-step and all that on the weekends. And looked like a Mr. Universe or something. Then I got dedicated to fighting the New World Order, got death threats, got attacked physically, you name it. I decided, hey, I'm not going to be around that long. I might as well just quit working out and just work 18 hours a day. Many days for years, I worked 18 hours a day. Putting out all those films, building my own media organization, everything. And it worked okay the first 2 years or so, but my metabolism slowed down, and I gained 60 pounds. I went up from about 180 pounds to about 240 pounds. Then I gained even more weight and went up to 275 is the biggest I've ever been. 275. I was about 275 about 5-6 years ago. Looked pretty good for 275. I have gotten down to 230 pounds. But here's the thing about 5 years ago. I started working out, swimming 2 miles a day, several days a week. 2 miles, open swims. I began doing 5, 6, 7 mile hikes, up hills, cliffs. I began doing all this stuff, but didn't really change my diet as much as I should, got more organic, and didn't lose but about 10 pounds. Then I did some of the InfoWarsHealth.com longevity stuff, lost another 25 pounds or so. But when I got the Super Male Vitality developed by Dr. Group and the Fluoride Shield in the last 10 months, I've lost another 20 pounds, and I have more energy, and I can stay up late, I can do more, and it really is a Super Male Vitality and the proprietary nascent iodine. And you've heard Shaden Steiner's rave reviews. You've heard people that have tried it, what's happened. You can see the YouTube videos out there where people have done their testimonies for Super Male Vitality and for the nascent iodine. And it really is just amazing how it blocks the estrogen mimickers and allows your glands to produce the hormones you need. And I obviously will never get back to, and I've had setbacks. You know, I got that pneumonia that's killed so many people this winter, and that got me set back a little bit. And then I tore my Achilles. Now the doctor says about 50%, and they're surprised I'm able to walk and say that it is growing back partially. I did that mountain climbing in Big Bend about 6 weeks ago. Was more than bouldering, but the point is, and stepped in a big hole up on the top of a plateau. But the point is despite all of that, it's been the Super Male Vitality and the Survival Shield proprietary nascent iodine. In fact, let me just take it right now. I keep forgetting to take my midday dose. It is so essential that you check out the products and try them, because if you will just try them, you're bare minimum supporting the broadcast and free speech and the tip of the spear. But you're also going to get a product that is, if it has the effect it's having on everybody else we know, you're going to be sold and realize, wow, Alex wasn't giving me BS again. You know, he just keeps telling the truth. I mean, the lung cleanse, you got a sore throat or allergies, it's got all these essential oils, a whole bunch of them, and other key herbs. 3 shots in the mouth. Then you inhale just to get a little bit down the lungs. You don't spray and inhale. And then you've got the Super Male Vitality with the 8 different key concentrated organic herbs. That's just amazing. And then you've got Survival Shield. That is just the flagship product and is so amazing. So I want to encourage you all to go to InfoWarsLife.com and get some of the products today. InfoWarsStore.com to find all the Made in America pro-gun, pro-liberty apparel for men and women. Really got some top-rate stuff there. The brass belt buckles with George Washington, the Liberty or Death, all of it. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. And your purchase of the products is what supports the whole transmission. Your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships, all of it. Okay, let's continue. We covered Warren Buffett. Here is the Hill newspaper. And when we first covered this 4 years ago, again, the White House responded when Drudge linked to our story and said that we were dangerous conspiracy theorists. Well, I was covering the Texas, Energy Board, saying it would double power prices over the next 5 years. We're now 4 years later. And Austin's power prices have roughly doubled. And it's just destroying the economy. Clean burning coal, folks. Nothing comes out of those things but carbon dioxide and water vapor. So they've listed carbon dioxide as a pollutant. Meanwhile, we'll end up getting our power. They'll just build dirty plants in Mexico or dirty plants in China. They're all building dirty plants. Mexico builds a new one every week. China, 3 every week. We get more than 15 shut down. It used to be just 3 every week. Now it's more than 15 coal power plants shut down a week. And look, all I'm saying is no one else has to be shut off but England and the U.S. and Germany. and Spain. Spain did this first, and you can pull up mainstream articles admitting they're in a depression because of it. Yeah, you double or triple, in the case of Spain, people's energy prices. I mean, they're turning the lights out. And then all these people with their Volt cars, great. You plug into coal power. They're just shutting them down everywhere. They're going to shut down Austin's last power plant. They've shut 2 that were city-owned down. They've got the Fayetteville that's of new design, built 20 years ago, but upgraded. Nothing comes out of it but carbon dioxide and water vapor. It's about 80 miles away from Austin. You can type in Fayetteville, Texas power plant and see it. And the city of Austin owns a third of it with Houston and is trying to force the shutdown of it. The shutdown of an incredible asset. Again, I tell the story about this. My grandfathers, one of them was a fighter pilot, the other flew bombers. But the issue was they were blowing up German power plants, blowing up German, my dad's dad, bombing railways, bombing infrastructure, bombing factories. This is the equivalent of America being bombed. Or Godzilla coming out of the ocean. Godzilla's coming out this week. My buddy Shane Steiner calls it Pacific Rim 2. Or isn't it vice versa? Pacific Rim is Godzilla 2. But the point is, the business groups in here, and same with the Texas government point out, it will shut the economy off. But that's the plan. The total shutoff. Some people are like, well, I don't own coal stocks, or I don't care. Well, I don't either, folks. In fact, my family's got a few little gas wells that are in competition against oil and coal. So if I was just greedy, wanting my daddy a little bit more money for his gas wells, I would be good. Shut off the coal. Because you can run natural gas in these power plants. And it's even cleaner than coal, but still carbon dioxide does come off of it. And they're saying they'll bankrupt those now, too. Well, where are you going to get the power? People say, well, Alex, you should be for free energy. I am for new forms of energy. They're not letting it get deployed or developed. So we better use the petroleum resources we've got now. Some big energy site, I saw it last week, attacked me whenever I had Porter Stansberry on about his energy boom. That's one part of his conference. That's just, I think, a third of the presentations there with T. Boone Pickens. Well, shouldn't we get it from Texas rather than Saudi Arabia? I mean, this is what we've got now. So, yes, I want to – can't you hold 2 thoughts in your mind at the same time? I want to develop new systems, and then we need to also exploit what we've got and keep prices down, or there goes our way of life. And you can argue, well, we have too good a way of life. Okay, but here's the deal. The globalists are exempting themselves, and they want to make us poor for political control. And people are on the edge of bankruptcy all over this country. And it's not fair that China and India and Mexico and 100-plus other countries – 160-plus other countries are exempt. All our jobs will go there if they aren't already gone. Don't you understand that? I mean, your trendiness will not save you. Coal rules will devastate, say business groups. Environmental Protection Agency carbon dioxide limits for new power plants will devastate the economy by leading to steep surge in energy prices, the coal industry and its allies warned. Well, it's an absolute fact. I mean, the prices are already exploding, and that's out of the Hill newspaper. Stay with us. Again, for the first 30 minutes of the next hour, we're going to have the former state police officer and a man that runs one of the largest, most successful school safety training organizations. He says it's staged. Sandy Hook. I know it's staged. I've seen Anderson Cooper with weird blue screen, green screen stuff claiming he was there. I just don't know exactly what they staged. You know the official story is a fraud. But then when a top expert like this guy starts investigating it, he's been threatened by the FBI at his house, now barred from being able to ask questions at school board. I mean, they are really, and you can see them with the kids going in circles, the same kids going in and out on helicopter shot in a staged event. Looks like a drill. They might have killed a few real kids in there. I don't know. But we know they were having a drill. We know they had weird SWAT teams dressed up like the shooters there. Government connections to the kid. I mean, it's the same deal. The Colorado shooter, ladies and gentlemen, on record was under a top military psychiatrist. I don't even have time to get into it. It's coming up. I mean, it's staged. It's staged. And they're doing this to come after our guns. But let's get to a really serious report. You can see the video up on Infowars.com. if you're a radio listener. Cops attack family with tasers and pepper spray for having party in their own home. And now they're sending SWAT teams for anything now. Sometimes they send SWAT teams for unpaid, speeding tickets. It's just the police are converting over to this, and it's sickening, and it's very dangerous. And the Houston police, their police chief a few years ago called for cameras in all citizens' homes watched by the police. I mean, this guy needs to move to the old Soviet Union or North Korea. Here it is.
Tonight, police in Baytown are giving their side of the story after a family accused them of using excessive force. Last night, we showed you this videotape released by the family, who says the officers were violent with them and even repeatedly tased a grandmother. 7 members of that family are facing charges tonight, and police are telling Local 2's Phil Archer they believe it was their officers who were really in danger.
According to Baytown police, it began when officers interrupted a party in Jose Zepeda's backyard. They said they tried to arrest him after he refused to sign a ticket for disturbing the peace. But then they say 3 partygoers, Rodolfo Zepeda, Edgar Garcia, and Christian Zepeda, tried to stop them.
From that point on, the 3 gentlemen started pushing the officers, assaulting the officers. So therefore, one of the officers pulled out pepper spray and sprayed one time.
The officers followed 2 of the men into the house and allege a family member locked the door behind them. Outnumbered 10-1, Detective Edgar Elizondo says the policemen called for help.
You basically have a couple of officers inside the residence trapped fighting with people. So therefore, we had no other choice.
During the melee, the Zepeda family contends officers pepper sprayed small children. The department flatly denies it, saying the children may have been affected by the spray on the men's clothes.
I mean, you can
Police
see it.
admit 3 adults were shot with tasers, including 53-year-old Maria Zepeda. But police say she was tasered once, and she tried to prevent them from arresting her son.
They were calling us wetbags.
And partygoers allege the video proves police used racial slurs as they arrested a total of 7 suspects. The department says the video actually shows something else.
And we slowed it down a little bit, and you could hear the officers plainly saying, "Get back, get back." There's no racist remarks made.
In the week since it happened...
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, because it looks like most of those cops are Hispanics. They're going to be calling... I mean, the whole point is, though, why is there a bunch of cops showing up at a party to begin with? You can see on the video they're tasering an old woman on the ground. They're definitely attacking everybody in the building in the video you see. I mean, the people are not resisting them in the video I've seen. But I just want to know why the police taser people for, not asking questions or arguing or whatever. Tasers also cause heart attacks. That's been proven. We'll be right back with the second hour. Coming up, Leanne McAdoo went out on the streets of Austin and said, should the word fiesta be banned? Should all Mexican food be banned? Universities are banning it everywhere, having Mexican fiesta parties and tacos, saying it's racist. I just thought it was a theme of a party, like you have a Hawaiian luau party. It's not because you hate Hawaiians, it's because it sounds fun. Then you go out and get all the little tiki torches and the little Hawaiian stuff to put on the drinks and the little pool parties. Is that against... I think we should ban it. Because if one person is offended that universities are having fiesta parties, we should ban Fiesta food stores that are across the Southwest. We should ban Fiesta Texas. That's obviously racist. The word party is racist. This is 1984, where they're reducing the language down. And I see people on Infowars.com commenting this, going, look at these dumb liberals. A, they're not liberals. They're authoritarian fascists, control freaks that want to control language. And B, they are just right in 1984 reducing everything down where you can't even communicate with anybody. And everything is a political faux pas, so that you are just in a catatonic state of inaction, unable to do anything, thinking it's offensive. And I've told the stories of hearing people. Somebody says, hey, let's get Chinese food. Everybody's like, shh. At first, it's, you don't call it the Orient. You call it Asia. You don't call it Asia. You call it the East. You don't say African American now. You say this. It's just, how do I please you? Well, you turn your guns in. You pay more taxes to Warren Buffett. That's how you prove you're not racist. And you give money to Planned Parenthood to abort the minority babies to prove you're not racist. Okay? And, you know, you also are a Nazi collaborator like George Soros, a famous one, and then you get awards from the ADL. But if you fight the Nazis, the ADL will list you, okay? And the government will send white supremacists that are government-controlled after you if you're Alex Jones. And then the Southern Poverty Law Center will imply you're a racist while they send the white supremacists after you who are proven to be government agents. And Arnold Schwarzenegger will dress up in Nazi outfits and wear death's head belts, Nazi belts, and say that he loves Hitler to Rolling Stone magazine and wants to be a dictator, and he'll get ADL awards. But if you make a movie about Christ and make one comment you're baited into about Jews, you'll be crucified. That's all political correctness is, ladies and gentlemen, is a weapon to control people and to end speech and to shut down the society. So that piece is coming up. Leanne McAdoo did another report. I think I'm going to have time to air. Leanne McAdoo, child sacrifice goes mainstream. We're going to air that report. We got Joel Gilbert coming up with a bunch of breaking news about his research across the true state of the country and what's happening with the economy. But we are going to, again, come back to the next segment and get into the really big news of the continued attempted cover-up of what really happened in Connecticut with the Sandy Hook shooting. Now, continuing here with the news, very important article from the Financial Times of London, and that's even more important than the Wall Street Journal, in my opinion. This is a real elitist publication that openly calls for world government. But in this, they say hedge fund titans are testing the quality of U.S. democracy. If branches of government bow to big business, public policy will be decided by the highest bidder. Well, that's the plan. More money, more bribes, bigger bribes, more bribes and bigger bribes. And then it just goes on to break down how it's a revolving door with the big hedge funds, the hedge fund hyenas, and the big investment banks literally just overthrowing the entire U.S. government. Well, they've done that in England as well. That's why all the billionaires, record levels, are moving to London, because you can go there and incorporate and pay almost no taxes. But the average Brit pays some of the highest taxes in the world, not compared to France, but they're in the top bracket there of high taxes. But not the rich guys. They're not going to pay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have massive breaking news here dealing with the First Amendment in this country. If you look at the situation in Connecticut with the Sandy Hook shootings that were used to collectively put guilt on the American people and imply that gun owners collectively had murdered a bunch of little children in an elementary school, you could see it was a psyop. It's come out that Bloomberg put out emails the day before saying, get ready with our Twitter, with our media, to have a big push against guns the next 24 hours. Very suspicious. Then you've got the local regional SWAT team people hiding out in the woods in the same outfits as the supposed shooter. You've got the whole story changing. The most incriminating is you got the helicopter footage of the people, with their hands up coming out of the school in the evacuation hours after it supposedly happened, going in circles in and out of the school. Going in circles. They've torn down the school now. They've declared state secrets on the photos, the video. There's weird Anderson Cooper video where he claims he's there on the ground at the town square and he turns bigger than Dallas and it's a green screen. He's shimmering around the edges. His nose disappears. You can see flowers and things blowing in the wind, and then they do it again. It's the same footage being looped behind them. I don't know what happened there, but I know Anderson Cooper is admittedly a member of the Central Intelligence Agency. And they send him out on the disinfo pieces. He's been caught 3 times in the last couple of years with fake massacre videos on CNN from Syria, fake shootings, where they'll have the feed going, now I shoot, now I stage it, dragging dead bodies around. This is the stuff they do. So we know they've been caught running false flags. The Turkish government's been caught staging attacks against itself. That's BBC, run by the same globalists. So this is important. Well, a former state police officer who's run one of the largest and accredited school safety drill systems, school safety training centers. They go around consulting at universities, you name it, big ones right here in Texas, but all over the country. This guy's got a long career. Wolfgang W. Halbig is executive director of the National Institute for School Workplace Safety. He's recently formed a new safety and security company, WK & Associates. Previously, he worked in public education as a teacher, dean, assistant principal, director of an alternative school, the director for school safety and security of the Seminole County Public School District and school district of approximately 65,000 students. Mr. Halbig has been in law enforcement experience, former state police officer in Florida, a trooper, and the United States Customs inspector. As a result of his unique background in both law enforcement and education, Mr. Halbig has been invited to provide presentations and keynotes to a variety of audiences, including the National Education Law Conference, the National School Board Association, the Oklahoma School Board Association, the Illinois School Board Association, the New York State School Board Association, Florida School Board Association. I'm not going to go over the fact that he's consulted for 8,000 school districts worldwide, been on Good Morning America, NBC Dateline. He's not a kooky guy, and I haven't asked him this, but I bet him asking questions the last year, just looking at it and studying, and I bet he's lost a lot of business with the system. But he doesn't care. I'm guessing that's... I know how the system works. I don't know that. I'll ask him out in a minute. But he's the exact type of expert witness you want, who goes against his own interest monetarily to go out and tell the truth. Now, here's the bombshell news. This is in Discovery.com. Newtown School Board shuts down conspiracy theorists. That's people that don't believe the official story of known liars. If you believe you built your own business and Obama says you're a conspiracy theorist. If you believe Obamacare is increasing premiums, you're a conspiracy theorist, even though it is. People, including myself, that complain to TSA about being groped, when you say, hey, your own studies say you haven't stopped one terrorist, they'll say, oh, a conspiracy theorist. Being informed, knowing how to read a book, knowing how to tie your shoelaces is a conspiracy theory. If you know that mother's milk helps grow children's brains much better, all the studies show it, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you think cell phones are increasing brain cancer when all the studies show it, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you're concerned, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, ladies and gentlemen. I am a skeptic of known liars. But in a world of universal deception and universal lies, telling the truth is a revolutionary act, to quote George Orwell, a.k.a. George Orwell, Eric Blair. So here's the headline: School Board shuts down conspiracy theorists. Now, they've shot footage of this, and Wolfgang's making a documentary, but he said he'll send us the raw footage. As soon as it gets here, make copies on memory stick or whatever, we will get a special report out, because this needs to be seen, of them being shut down at the school board, then trying to go to United Way and others that famously suck up the Oklahoma City money, the 9/11 money for themselves and give it to anti-gun groups. That's how this whole scam works. United Way, Red Cross, I mean, they're just vicious organizations. A lot of good people work for them and do good work, but back when I first covered this like 15 years ago, nobody believed me. They're well-known scamsters, basically Democratic Party operations. But the bottom line here is that then the police blocked him from going in a public building that by law he's supposed to be allowed into. So Wolfgang joins us to cover what's happened to him currently, and now he's being blocked from investigating. He's been visited repeatedly by, quote, law enforcement telling him he better back off. They're acting scared to death, folks. Okay? They're acting scared to death about this big production they put on there. And the good news is the majority of people I see across the board and I meet do not believe any of this stuff anymore. Now, we'll get back into, after he recaps what just happened, we will get back into his biggest questions concerning it. But Wolfgang, thanks for coming on.
Back, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I really wish you could have gone on this trip. And I think it's important that every listener clearly understands that, do I want to be doing this? Absolutely not. I'm retired. I mean, I got my AAP card. Had these police officers, had the homicide investigators not come to my home a week before Christmas, Newtown would have never heard of Wolfgang Halbig. Nobody would have ever heard of me because, you know, as a national school safety consultant, I simply was sending the FOIA request, Connecticut Freedom of Information request, asking questions that's not offensive to any of those parents who supposedly lost a child, not offensive to Danbury Police or the Connecticut State Police. And to this day, they don't return phone calls. They refuse to respond to any Connecticut Freedom of Information Act. And when we were at the school board, I had 3 minutes. I had a chance to talk to him. And I said, Chairman, you talk about honesty, that everybody's supposed to be honest here in this room. Where's the honesty? Why don't you return phone calls? Why can't you respond to simple FOIA requests? I mean, you're an educational institution. You're supposed to know how to communicate. And what really was important is that in March, Alex, the Freedom of Information Commission out of Hartford, Connecticut, actually sent an instructor to Newtown, to Sandy Hook, to teach them on how to respond to FOIA requests, that they cannot ignore them, that if they are public documents, they need to be presented. I mean, they actually had somebody there before I got there to teach them how to do it and what they must do. And guess what? They're in defiance of him. They're not even listening to their own Freedom Commissioner. Unbelievable.
And it is unbelievable. And we actually aired a few nights ago on the InfoWars Nightly News the video of that transpiring. You're going to send us the video of going to the United Way and being blocked, which you were telling us is illegal. We're going to get to that in a moment. But we do have that video and that special report. We will play your 3 minutes coming up. But why do you think they're acting so desperate to block you? And tell folks what happened at the United Way.
Well, I think the reason they're not answering those questions, because I think it's going to expose their whole scam. I mean, the questions, they come from my background as a law enforcement officer and customs agent. I think you need to know, when you have a security system, you should know who installed the security system. How much did you pay for it? What did you put in? I mean, you ought to have emails between the principal and the school district talking about work orders, talking about finance, transportation. I mean, it actually will tell you whether the school...
There's no history. There's no history. There's no nothing.
They don't want to respond. See, that's the whole thing. When you don't respond, it raises the red flag. And this has been going on for 11 months. And they don't even return a phone call. Me as a principal, Alex, I may not like you as a parent, but if you call me, I have a responsibility. I've got to call you back. This district, they just do whatever they want.
Very suspicious. And when we come back, I want you to recap for folks, as an investigator and as a school safety expert, who's, again, been sourced and used on CBS News, you name it, a leading national expert, coming out and saying this doesn't fit. In the next 6-minute segment, Wolfgang, I want you to come back and explain to people, but in 30 seconds, what's the biggest smoking gun that tells you this thing is staged?
Well, it starts at the United Way, Western Connecticut. If there's one thing we learned about people in America, is always follow the money. And I think when you look at the amount of money that has been poured into Sandy Hook and Newtown because of this incident, it all starts at the United Way, Western Connecticut, who actually, I mean, you saw it advertised 3 days before the shooting. They were looking to solicit money 3 days before the shooting. And I think the big red flag is the Connecticut Attorney General's report on his findings.
We're going to talk about that, Wolfgang. Stay there. Yeah, and Bloomberg, this was in the news. He false started the day before as well. I mean, they were licking their lips. We'll be right back. This is hardcore information. This could bring them down, folks. Stay with us. School safety expert, former state trooper, Wolfgang W. Halbig, has done what he said he'd do. He's gone to Connecticut to investigate Sandy Hook and all of the weird anomalies and just the clear fraud here, and now the massive cover-up. So break down, sir, just to a layperson out there, the smoking guns of this and why you started investigating and why they're so desperate to try to intimidate you.
Well, it goes back as we ended the break, is that this is all about the money. I think it's all about the money, and what really caught my attention was the letters that were drafted, that were actually written to two nonprofits called the United Way Western Connecticut and the Sandy Hook Promise Fund, which is a pass-through from the United Way, Western Connecticut. And the Connecticut Attorney General, his name is George Jespin. I mean, I'm looking at his letter, and he really told them that, you know, as fiduciaries, that they are accountable to the public, and they must be transparent in every way, since they're soliciting and they're recruiting funds from major corporations, that they must be open, transparent. And also, he made a big note that if they are soliciting money under false pretenses, that they need to be very, very careful.
I understand. We'll get into all the minutia of an investigator trying to get in, but why are you saying United Way is so important? I mean, what are the big smoking guns? Because I know you're inside this investigation, but for folks out there, what are the red flags?
Well, the red flag is that you're looking at $29 million. You got the United Way, Sandy Hook Promise, and there are 39 other community nonprofit organizations within Newtown which received a lot of funds. For an example, the Animal Shelter in Newtown, Sandy Hook, Alex, they got $450,000 from the Sandy Hook shooting. Now, what does an animal shelter have to do with a...
I understand. You're saying the motive for the locals to go along with the fraud is money.
Absolutely.
I get that. I'm talking about the crime scene itself. Recap that.
Well, the crime scene itself is, you know, it's not the way we in law enforcement respond to any type of a shots fired or 911 calls. It just does not make sense. And I go back to the very beginning. Any listener, I think the only way I think your listeners will understand, whether they're grandparents, parents, guardians, you have to actually close your eyes and pretend that you had a child at Sandy Hook that morning on December 14th, 2012. You really have to pretend that you heard on the news there's shots fired. And all of a sudden, your heart starts racing, and you get to that school, and all of a sudden, you know that somebody says, oh, I think your little girl or little boy was shot, and they might be seriously injured. And then you all of a sudden learn that somebody at that school did not bother to even order the trauma helicopters. I mean, that is unheard of. I don't care where you go in this country or around the world, you get the medical help, you get the best in the air as quick as possible.
Bottom line, there was a stand down. And you've blueprinted all that out on your website, but I saw it happen. What about the kids going in circles, back and forth, the same people, into the school for the helicopters? It looked like a fake drill. What about the guy in the woods that got picked up in the same outfit who was part of the anti-terror team? What about, I mean, just go through those points.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm glad you reminded. I mean, I'm trying to stay focused just on the kids and not having trauma helicopters, and I cannot believe they didn't let paramedics or EMTs in. But you're talking about the people they actually caught in the woods, and you can hear the words even in the police recordings. They've got him proned out. Alex, they got him handcuffed. One of the people actually is carrying a firearm. He's got a firearm that they caught in the woods. But do you think they would have run his name to the computer database? Do you think they would have run a 1028, 1029, check him through the NCIC computers to see if there's any outstanding warrants? Alex, we don't even see their names. Every person that was apprehended, handcuffed, taken in the police.
The cover-up is the prima facie proof of the larger crime and that we're being lied to.
Absolutely. You know what? I don't see it. You know, I wanted to say that at the board meeting, that if you go home tonight and you turn those lights out when you're about to go to sleep, how in the world can you live with this? There are so many lies there, and it's not just by the school board member. It's by the Danbury Police Department, Connecticut State Trooper. You know, when you read the police reports, that's not how we write police reports. Remember, each one of those reports, Alex, are taken under oath. They swore that this information...
So you're a top school safety expert and have been a customs official and a police officer. You know bull when you see it. I don't have all that background. I know bull when I see it. I mean, you got Anderson Cooper in green screens saying he's out there. I mean, this is the whole thing. And then you've got him jumping the gun. I mean, I think that's really big that Bloomberg was saying, get ready the day before, get ready to fundraise on mass shootings. You know, on your mark, get set, boom, pull the trigger too early. Had a false start, didn't you, Bloom me? We'll be right back. Stay with us. I really admire Dan Bedandi, our reporter on the East Coast. because he's the guy that went up during the Boston bombing. That was a total drill on record, with the older brother, Tamerlan, being a CIA asset on record. I mean, it was in major British and German news 2 years before. And then after the bombing, that the Russians had blown a bunch of spies' covers by going to the U.S. consulates and giving them a list of names, his name among them, saying, hey, this guy's allowed to fly with a fake name. He works for you, huh? They were sending him out of Georgetown through a Zbigniew Brzezinski group, CIA funded on record, over to Chechnya to literally work with the extremist groups. Now, does that mean he was infiltrating them to spy on al-Qaeda? Does that mean he was part of it? We don't know. The guy, did he get turned and then actually came back and did a real bombing? We don't know. The point is that went on. That should be a big news issue. Now, you see the drill, you see the stand down, you see all the people on the ground, what looks like Kraft International, wearing Kraft hats. And then that all gets shut down, and the head of Kraft gets killed at a shooting range. Chris Kyle. I mean, by the way, a lot of our guests get killed over the years. Quite a few of them have died. D.C. Madam, the list goes pretty long. The deputy head of emergency management, Barry Jennings in New York, 2 weeks after he's on this show, dead. Probably a witness protection program. The neighbors said that all these trucks pulled up, the family moved out, he disappeared. Probably not dead. That should be investigated. We tried to talk to the family. They wouldn't talk to us. So what I'm getting at here with everybody is this is not a game, okay? We know they staged stuff. They've staged it before. And we know they were set and ready with that tragedy. And again, you look at the Aurora shooting, that was totally staged. I don't have an hour to go over the evidence. Most of you are aware of it all, but it was incredible how staged that was. He was just the drugged up patsy for whoever the real shooter was. I mean, folks, they could grab me, drug me up with amnesics, put me in a car, go in, shoot a movie theater, and have the cops find me in the car. I mean, it's really that easy, and they can do it to you. They can do it to anybody. But in his case, he was under the psychiatric care of a top Air Force psych warfare expert who formerly ran an entire base in San Antonio and who was sent to that university to work with the shooter there, whose dad was one of the top algorithm scientists in the country, and he was an algorithm scientist, the reported shooter, in a secret DARPA mind control program. That's mainstream news, of human-machine brain interface. And they get, and that was Theodore Kaczynski, L.A. Times. Alexander Cockburn broke that, did the FOIA and got it. He was CIA. The Unabomber was CIA. James Holmes worked above CIA in a super black DARPA program. Super black. Everything was paid for. When they counted it all up, he was getting like 80 G's a year in government money we know of. 80 G's. And notice that the cops shut that thing down when not anybody in there claiming there were bombs in there. Bull. Theodore Kaczynski was in the MK Ultra mind control program. That's LA Times. That's admitted. Yeah, it sounds sensational. Reality is sensational. These are real mind control victims, but usually they just have a drugged up nut who takes the fall. They're not even the real shooter, like Sirhan. The LAPD police report said none of his bullets hit RFK, and it was another caliber in the back. He starts getting ready to shoot. They pin his arm. Doesn't matter. People behind him, boom. And he'd been drugged with an amnesic, Sirhan. And then there's famous photos in the ballroom before he gets killed of 3 famous CIA agents, one of them a section chief over Latin America, in the ballroom. They don't even hide this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Anderson Cooper, CIA, up there. Who cares if it's blue screen? Just like CNN, I'm going back to our guest, just like CNN back during the first Gulf War, was at the broadcast center in Atlanta on top of a roof with a blue screen behind them, saying they were in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, different days, being hit by nerve gas. And then they went on air for parts of it with the blue screen not even turned on, with blue behind them. And then there were live feeds back in that day. Remember the whole thing where David Letterman was getting mad that people could tape his show as it was being taped and sent over? Same thing with Jay Leno. Same thing was happening with Johnny Carson before he retired, because they would tape it during the day and then beam it back to New York to be edited. Well, it's the same deal. CNN was sending that raw feeds out all over the world, and people knew how to descramble them and get them. And it's on record that CNN did fake Scud missile attack videos. So they've done it over and over again. We've got Wolfgang here with us. Sir, I want to give you about 3 minutes to make any other points that you didn't make to the school board. Then we're going to play a special report that aired actually last Friday of you in there talking to him. I didn't know the video was actually out or had been on the nightly news. I missed Friday's show. I usually watch it almost every night, but I missed that when I was with family. But look, let's say you got 3 minutes in a nutshell of what's going on here to the lay person out there as a school safety expert, renowned nationally, Mr. Halbig, of what really happened here, and what would you say to that school board?
Well, the first thing I got to say before I get into that is that thank God I've had 67 great years of great life. I got a beautiful family. You know, I'm getting threats all the time. I got some crazy people out there. You know, they're attacking my wife, they're attacking me, and everything else. But you know what? All they have to do is answer 16 simple questions. You and I wouldn't even be talking today. It's unheard of, okay? And I think the school board members and the superintendent, they have a responsibility of telling the truth. Alex, I cannot believe that a public school system, and you know, when you look at the school itself, when you look at Sandy Hook, it is a filthy school. That's what I wanted to talk to the board members about. It is a toxic waste dump. When you look at the data, and here's what they didn't realize, they put it in their own newspaper before they demolished it. Sandy Hook had the highest level of lead paint throughout the entire school. Sandy Hook had the highest level of asbestos in the ceiling tiles and ceiling floors. It had the highest level of PCP in the groundwater. It's contaminated. Now, here's the question. Connecticut law requires that every parent must be notified of those hazardous chemicals because they have serious health effects on children, which may not be seen until 5 years later. Now, why would any parent, why would those 18 of the 20 parents that moved into Newtown in 2009 enroll their child in a school with all those hazardous chemicals? Their parents just don't do that. They don't expose their little children to chemical hazards.
Well, let me just stop you. As an investigator, kind of like they got Al Capone for tax evasion, not for all the murders or money laundering, you're looking at how they don't do any of the standard stuff, the paperwork, the police reports, no helicopters sent, no rescue, kids going in circles, totally staged, men with guns in the woods getting grabbed, no names released. They deny it went on, later have to admit it went on, but say we're not answering questions. I mean, clearly it's a drill, just like the Boston bombing. I don't know exactly what's going on, but the official story isn't true. And again, I've read a lot of criminology. I'm not a cop, but I've studied a lot of it. And just from a lay media investigative journalist perspective, something is rotten here. And then you see it duplicated over and over again. What's your bottom line? What do you think really happened at Sandy Hook? People can see your 16 questions at sandyhookjustice.com. And we just salute your will to go up there and have 8 police cars block you at the United Way and have them shut you down at the school board, at the commission. But bottom line, what do you as a almost 40-year investigator, police officer, you name it, what do you think's happening here?
Well, until they answer those questions, I can tell you children did not die. Teachers did not die on December 14th, 2012. It just could not have happened. And it's in their words. It's not what Wolfgang thinks, or it's just my my opinion. It's what they say. I mean, their own words actually show that it could not have happened. Who declares 27 people legally dead within 8 minutes? Nobody does that. Who has a 99.9% kill rate? Shooting children in a school within 8 minutes. There isn't an FBI agent, there isn't a Navy SEAL that's that good of a shot within 8 minutes and then kill himself. I mean, that's reasonable doubt. I mean, that in itself is reasonable doubt to show that Adam Lanza could not have done that. I mean, he's an autistic child. He's got Asperger's. Alex, nobody has a 99.9% kill rate, not even the New York Police Department.
But he's a perfect cutout. And for those that don't know, the reason that is, even if you're shooting people point blank in the head, the bullets change direction. They go different directions. And, I mean, a lot of times I've shot a wild hog, a deer, you name it, and the bullet deflects off. Even if you hit them broadside, sometimes it just deflects through. You don't get 99.99 kill rates. It's just incredibly hard to do.
It is. And, you know, and the thing that people, they haven't had time to read that 7,000-page report that was put out by Stephen Sedensky, who's the state attorney in Danbury, Connecticut. Even the governor's own commission, Alex, the governor's own hand-picked Sandy Hook Advisory Commission calls this 7,000-page report the biggest data dump that they've ever seen. Now, this is his hand-picked commission, and it's redacted. This is a commission supposed to read it, study it, and come up with recommendations, and they get a redacted report. Now, what does that tell us?
Well, everybody's compartmentalized, and everybody's just playing along with the peer pressure.
Yes, they are.
Just like the police officers on 9/11, you know, were told, get back, they're going to blow up Building 7. It's on video. I heard it on CNN, heard it on CBS News. Have the video. The cops saying, get back, they're blowing it up. I'm not saying the cops blew it up. I've interviewed the police officers on this show that are on CNN saying, get back, they're going to blow it up. And they said, no, we were told on the radio, they're going to blow up Building 7, get back. And there was a countdown on the Red Cross radio. They were running it. And again, they use United Way, Red Cross as the CIA cutouts. If you look that up, that's mainstream news. And they were there telling the cops what to do that afternoon. Incredible. And they're there hearing the countdown. I've interviewed not one, but two. One of them was a EMT, the other a cop. And boy, did they get threatened over it. They wouldn't even do more interviews after it. And they go, no, we heard the countdown. And the Red Cross guy said, you know, morally, I got to just tell all you cops, get back. They're going to blow it up in a couple minutes. He goes, I'm not supposed to tell you this. Just, and then the countdown. And the cops are like, countdown? So the cops are like, get back, get back. And then the media spins it, you're saying the cops blew up the World Trade Centers. And no, all I know is it's on CNN. Cops going, get back, they're going to blow that building up. They weren't even brought in on it. They got told by people warning them who were compartmentalized. And it's just so incredible. I don't mean to get off into another subject, Wolfgang. It's just that I've seen this over and over again, how the compartmentalization works.
I agree, but I think the same, Alex, we've never had a time in our history where Sandy Hook, the school massacre, the biggest illusion ever portrayed by Homeland Security and FEMA, it can bring down the house. I think America, I cannot tell America, this is probably our only chance to unite and come together and look for the truth. And this house needs to fall because Sandy Hook is taking away our guns across the country. Sandy Hook is messing with our freedom of speech. That's not the America that you and I know, Alex.
And they raise hundreds of millions of dollars, billions in the case of 9/11, collecting money off of people's goodwill and then giving it to anti-gun groups. The United Way is an anti-gun cesspit.
It is, and I hope nobody ever donates another dime to United Way until they answer every question.
Well, I mean, there's already been so many scandals about United Way. I mean, more than half the money goes to the executives.
That's true. I just saw that one.
I'll tell you, a good charity is the Salvation Army. Are they involved in any way locally up there?
Are you ready? Salvation Army is not even one of the 39 nonprofits listed. Do you know why? Because they're a good organization, as you just mentioned. They're not involved.
That's right. It's always the same players.
It's officers. I mean, forcibly stopping me from just going in with an attorney, and when they have in their hand the IRS regulations, something is seriously wrong.
By the way, that was really a false detainment or false arrest. That's a civil rights violation.
Well, we're working on that. But you know what? Here's the one that really got me. You have no right to be on their property. Alex, I want you to listen to the police officers. Captain, you have no right to be on their property. It's public. You can only be here if they invite you. Now, tell me if there's something wrong with that one.
Yeah, when you're a public, open charity that operates and says that they're an open operation, under the state and federal bylaws, they're supposed to let people in to examine things.
Absolutely, and you don't have to make an appointment. He says, well, you don't have an appointment. I said, where does it say in the IRS regulations that I have to have an appointment?
Well, how are they waiting for you to get there? That's another thing.
Yeah, they actually knew we were coming.
Yeah, well, what you do is well, you know what to do. You wait till they go and then come back.
I know. But the thing is, too, when we traveled from Danbury over to the Newtown Police Department to meet with the police chief, Mike Kehoe, Danbury had already notified the police chief in Newtown that we were coming. I mean, this is just unbelievable.
Oh, they're all working together. It's a cover-up, no doubt. Well, they better watch it. Listen, we're going to come back and play the report that we put together, and it's got your comments, powerful information to the school board. Thank you for the work that you're doing, sir. We'll continue to track everything you're up to, and God bless you.
Okay. Thank you, Alex.
You bet. There goes Wolfgang Halbig, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got his website up on screen for radio listeners, though it's just really important for you to go and visit the site, and we'll put that site again back up on screen. Now, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, we've got big breaking news up on Infowars.com. We first saw rumblings of this last week, but it's just like Obama is making money off the Arab Spring in Egypt. That came out through Kenya, laundering the money. Joe Biden's son appointed to board of Ukraine's largest gas producer. Unbelievable. Joe Biden's son, just like the son of Harry Reid making money off the solar farms with the Chinese government in Nevada, now part of this multi-billion-dollar company. Just incredible graft. Imagine Discovery Channel coming out and demonizing Halbig, who's been one of the top school safety experts in the country. I mean, he really is famous in that area and been on Good Morning America, Dateline as an expert, you name it. Been the head of security for major universities, major school districts. He goes to speak to him, and the media goes, oh, conspiracy theorist shut down. Newtown School Board shuts down conspiracy theorist. And he's like, no rescue helicopters, weird police reports. I mean, it's fake. Blue screens, it's fake. Again, we don't know what's going on. He goes further and says it's just completely fake. I don't know. You got parents laughing, going, watch this, and then going, method acting, going, child. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You got coroners that start laughing, and I don't mean uncomfortably. I mean like laughing with the state police when they're giving press conferences. I mean, it just is the fakest thing since the $3 bill. And you better get ready for more of it, folks. Now, let's go to his 3 minutes to the school board there in Connecticut.
My name is Wolfgang Halbig. I'm from Lake County, Florida, a town called Sorrento, Florida. I'm a national school safety consultant. For the last 25 years, I've traveled the country. And you look at me like I'm here today to create a problem. That's the last thing I want to do. You have an incident that happened on December 14, 2012. As tragic as it was, it got national attention, worldwide attention. I was one of the first people in my community to donate money to your cause. Let me tell you something, when tragedy strikes in any community, the first thing you can do is give money, because it takes money to heal. It took me about a week and a half to get over the shock as to what I saw at Sandy Hook. Board members, I contacted the superintendent 2 days after the incident. I offered and extended any help they might need. And because I train people on incident command, this is what I do for a living. And I was offering my help. I sent an email. I have sent emails to each one of you board members. I've contacted the superintendent's office, the director of facility. Ladies and gentlemen, not one phone call back from your district. Not one FOI request that you responded to. You had a man sitting here with the Freedom of Information Act giving you a lesson on what is documents that should be released under public records. And yes, to this day, you have refused to answer phone calls, and you have refused to answer my FOI requests. And you're a public education. Do you not teach character education? You used the word honesty in your presentation. Where's the honesty in this room? No matter how tragic that event might have been, people in America deserve the truth. Because guess what? There isn't a school district in America that wants another Sandy Hook happen in their district, not private or parochial. And ladies and gentlemen, the questions I ask are not offensive to any parent who lost a child that day. They're not offensive to the Connecticut State Police. They're not offensive to anyone. They're such simple questions. Why no trauma helicopters?
All right, folks.
Why would you not let parents...
We're going to come back and play the rest of it, and then we have our other guests joining us and a bunch of other news. But remember, this is a government caught secretly sterilizing hundreds of thousands of Americans. It's a government caught doing secret medical experiments on blacks, whites, from the Appalachians to Georgia, from Northern California to Texas. These are globalists. They will do anything. Of course they would stage something like this to blame us and get our guns. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We've got more on Joe Biden's son carving up Ukraine. You know, Vladimir Putin gets criticized a lot for taking small pieces of some of the big energy companies that were wrested away from Western oligarchs that were controlling Russia. And undoubtedly some of that goes on. Again, I'm no fan of Russian corruption. But Joe Biden's son in this Kurt Nimmo article, and it's in a press release put out by the company that he heads up. Kurt Nimmo's article has the headline, Joe Biden's son appointed to board of Ukraine's largest gas producer. Global elite do not disguise efforts to gobble up Ukraine's natural resources. He heads up a company, and they've made him one of the lead people on the now state-controlled board, where he will then make money off the multi-billion-dollar-a-year gas exports into Europe. I mean, this is just incredible that they would put the son of the vice president on the state-run board with his company, and he puts a press release out about it. I mean, the headline should be, great article by Kurt Nimmo, Joe Biden makes son gas oligarch, or Obama administration establishing, making themselves oligarchs. Energy, Joe Biden's son to be energy oligarch of Ukraine. I mean, that's what they got. Two things. They got wheat with the breadbasket of Europe when it comes to wheat production, and they got natural gas coming out their wazoo. And they send it all right through Russia. The Russian gas to Ukraine, Ukraine gas to Ukraine down to Germany, all the other countries in that area. About half the gas in Europe supplied by that. And this is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, this is impeachable. This is a total conflict of interest. This is over the top. They haven't even fully overthrown the whole country yet with the $5 billion in money that the State Department put in there to do it. This is just too much. This is just too much. Do I have to explain to new listeners or the horror media that will never report on this how big a deal it is when you're the vice president of the country helping overthrow a sovereign nation trying to start a war with Russia, and your son is on the board of the national gas company? I mean, this is simply unbelievable. And I just keep saying unbelievable. That term gets overused in talk radio, but it is. It is unfathomable how they've gotten away with all this. Why not? Solyndra and the rest of it, there's $600 million to, don't even have an office, just to have a P.O. box. Here, don't build anything. Here's the money. It is so mind-blowing to see this happen. I said I'd get back to the rest of Wolfgang's speech to the city council, but we're having it reposted, or not the city council, the school board, up at Infowars.com. But I read this article. There's now this company that he heads up, and he's now being appointed onto Ukraine's largest gas producer with his company. Global elite do not disguise efforts to gobble up Ukraine's natural resources and establish royal oligarchies. I mean, that's really what it is. Hunter Biden joins team in Burisma Holdings. Isn't that just cute? Isn't that just funny? That is so amazing. That is so incredible. And it just shows the sky is the limit now with the corruption of these people. Meanwhile, Dinesh D'Souza is facing 5 years in prison so they can shut down the making of his new movie to expose the globalists and promote American liberty for getting his friends to give money to his friend that was running for the Senate and lost. And the way I look at it, it isn't illegal. But, I mean, just they're arresting pro-life groups, folks, the IRS is. I mean, it's just these people are sick. Well, I always like getting him on the show. He's a really great researcher and filmmaker. Joel Gilbert, he made Dreams of My Real Father, exposing who I believe Obama's real father is. He was born in Hawaii, folks, not Kenya. That's why he put in his Harvard journal that he published, the Harvard Law Review, that he was born in Kenya. That's why his wife in all those speeches said he was born in Kenya. So they put out fake birth certificates that were so easily proven as fakes, was to make you believe he was born in Kenya so that you wouldn't understand who his dad really was. We sell that film on DVD at InfoWarsStore.com, and your purchases help support the broadcast. But regardless, Joel Gilbert joins us. He's got a new film coming out that I hope to be able to carry here and also show folks there's no place like utopia. And the globalists say they're building a utopia. So he's going to tell us about what he's been doing the last few years traveling the country and his findings coming up here in just a few minutes. In other news, Friday's cable ratings are out. They come out a few days late. CNN's 9 p.m. hour hits second lowest ratings in 15 years. And the Wall Street Journal's reporting TV ad dollars slowly shifting to web video. Increasing portion of broadcast and cable budgets follow younger audience online. There's a lot of reasons for that. You want to brand the younger audience, but also you can skip ads on television. You really can't skip ads on YouTube if they're embedded that way. And so this, again, is the end of the dinosaur media if they don't shut down the real new media, and that's why they're moving in, trying to do that right now. And that's why we're fighting to maintain true net neutrality and a open and free internet. And why we bring on filmmakers like Joel Gilbert, because if a film I made like Obama Deception can be seen conservatively 50 to 60 million times for free online, and even though I didn't agree with all of its content, the first Zeitgeist was seen probably 50, 60 million times or more, and Loose Change that I produced, downloaded over 200 million times now total. It's a big effect. It just shows the power of free speech and how those ideas bounce around forever. I was in Waking Life back in 2001, Richard Linklater film, and it had a $3 million budget, produced by Tommy Pilata, and now is one of the most aired programs on cable and has been seen tens of millions of times and is now a hit movie. It's a hit movie. Waking Life is now a huge hit. Scanner Darkly became a huge hit in DVD and on HBO. Not big in the theaters. Did okay. $10 million budget. With Keanu Reeves, myself, and others. I'm not name-dropping. The point is that it shows the power of counterculture, whether it real counterculture to the globalist, kleptocratic, synthetic culture of eugenics and death, whether it's in an underground movie by Rick Linklater, or whether it's in an internet video that you make in your home, or whether it's, cats fighting in your backyard, whatever it is. The power of the people and our expressions and our ideas that are off the reservation, off the plantation is what will save society. The system wants to put out memes, force it, get us to start repeating it, and that's where propaganda has its real power, is getting us to repeat the bull they put out. But when we start ignoring it, when we start not going along with it, when we start saying no to it, then it's over. And we're on the edge of a true renaissance here. What do you say, Joel Gilbert, about the state of humanity? I know there's a great awakening happening. There's also a lot of people are awakening, but then just kind of feeling powerless that we're under this evil. But then that only encourages people like Joe Biden's son to be given a membership on the board of the state-controlled, quasi-private national provider of gas in Ukraine that also supplies much of Europe. And they put Joe Biden's son over the company that gets the Russian gas. I mean, why not just make Obama the oligarch of Ukraine? I mean, why not make Joe Biden the king of Ukraine? They could claim some genetic lineage and they could have a new emperor. I mean, how obvious does this have to get as they loot everything not nailed down here, as they shut down all their competition that they don't own here? I mean, this is a kleptocratic criminal takeover.
Well, we really have entered an era of reality and fantasy. And unfortunately, the fantasy of the progressives, of the far left, that goes back even before the 60s, but these guys from the 60s, 70s, they decided that once they failed to destroy America and destroy the Constitution with their communist revolution, Obama's pals like Bill Ayers and those guys, they said, let's have a revolution to destroy the country. We're going to get everybody to rise up by bombing some government buildings and murdering some policemen. Everybody's going to rise up and take over the government. It didn't work because it was evil. Nobody in their right mind would want to replace the Constitution with the Communist Manifesto. So these guys went underground, and when they came back in the early 80s, they decided, let's take over the government from within. Instead of saying, let's have a revolution to destroy America, they simply say, let's help middle-class families. We want to help poor people. But the agenda remains the same, and they're coming with this utopian fantasy that we've seen over and over in history. People followed Mao, Stalin, Pol Pot, Castro. They said, go down the yellow brick road, and the magical wizard is going to solve all your problems, just like people follow Obama. He's this magical person. But just like in The Wizard of Oz, when you get there, you find out he's a big phony, he's a fraud, and he sent Dorothy to the witch's castle, and she was taken prisoner. So just like we know in history, Stalin and Mao sent people to the gulags, the collective farms, and instead of utopia, the fantasy blew up in their faces and they were led to death. 100 million people died in peacetime from this utopian fantasy, from utopians in power.
You know, we've got a clip of the late former Green Beret, Larry Grafwald, who died earlier this year. I guess of cancer, but the point is that he was in the highest levels of the weathermen, and he was in the meetings where they said we're going to put 50 million conservatives and Christians in camps, and we're going to kill half of them.
Yeah, I knew Larry. I was very close to him. He's in my new film, and he said to me, "Look, try to imagine sitting in a room with 50 people with PhDs from Columbia talking about how to eliminate 50 million Americans if they don't go along with the progressive utopian fantasy." And that's why progressivism is so dangerous. The idea of paradise on earth with a human God who's Mao or Stalin or people that worship Barack Obama. He's the perfect being. He can't do anything wrong. This mentality is very dangerous. We've seen it in history again and again. And I show in my film, there's no place like utopia. It's a play on, obviously, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. That there's this magical fantasy. Progressives murdered 100 million people.
And by the way, when I've been around so-called Democrats out to dinner, I don't mean your grassroots Democrats who mean well and are really good people on average, but real Democratic operatives. Rob Dew was at dinner once with one of them. We didn't even, I mean, I cut the guy out of a film. It was so scary. He said, look, when we take over, we're going to kill everybody that isn't with us. And by the way, we're about to take over. And I was like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, we want to kill people. We love blood. And really, these are like demons or something. They know it's all a con game. They want to own the gas companies. They want everything.
Well, the average so-called regular liberal or Democrat does not realize that the radicals have taken over the party. Today, the Democrat Party is a radical socialist party. They don't have any opposition within the party, and if you oppose from the outside, you're evil. It's the narrative they tell every day.
You're racist. They said I'm behind the Boston bombing with no proof. I want to play a clip of Larry, who was in the Weatherman meetings, certified on record, confirmed in court. Here it is.
And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I ask, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill. 25 million people. Now, I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known.
There you go, calmly talking about killing everybody. I mean, that's all they've got on their mind is killing people. These are sick freaks.
They believe in this utopian fantasy of creating paradise on earth. And if you don't go along with the fantasy, you don't fit into utopia. That's why they have to eliminate people who cannot be molded to fit into paradise. That's why Oprah Winfrey, she got the Medal of Freedom from Obama. Oprah said, people in the South, generations of people are just going to have to die. They're going to have to die. And she gets a medal. So the utopian fantasy, we've seen it in history over and over. We don't have to learn it from the beginning. We need to stick with the character of America. The character emanates from the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. These created an American identity, free markets, free speech, limited government that was the most successful paradise on earth. So paradise is here. This is it. It doesn't get any better than Kansas. If you try to fix it, the first time you hear someone say, I've got the perfect formula for social change, you better ask yourself, what stripes am I going to be wearing this time?
Exactly. People always want me to give them some easy fix. Anybody that says they've got an easy fix is lying to you. There aren't free lunches. Freedom is what works. It makes people be independent. It makes them be strong. Collectivism is a living, failing nightmare. We're joined by Joel Gilbert, joelgilbert.net. He'll be with us till 40 after that. I'm going to play some special reports and a lot more. But I've studied history. I'm addicted to reading history books, studying different periods. And I've never seen a time in history in the last 500 years or so, what you call modern history, since the Renaissance, when things are more delusional. The propaganda being put out by the Obama administration makes what Clinton used to do look truthful, makes Bush look truthful. And he was incredible lies out of that administration. Now it's literally 2 + 2 = whatever we say. And the only place I see stuff like that is North Korea. No one lies at this level, whole cloth, about everything. And they're doing it on purpose to overthrow reality to where you're just accepting a whole new level of lies. They're going to take us 1 trillion miles down the rat hole of fraud. If we claw back 100 million, they don't care. We're still 900 million miles down hell. I think that's the tactic. Joel Gilbert, what do you think? Because we're going to play the trailer for your new film coming up in the next segment. But I mean, what is the method to their madness when Carney says last week, this Benghazi memo is not about Benghazi. We told you there are no Benghazi memos. Therefore, this is not about Benghazi, even though it says it's about Benghazi. I mean, what is the method to their madness?
Well, when your entire agenda has been proven false over and over, that it's a recipe for biological destruction and economic devastation, the only way to sustain that agenda is through massive lies. So we've entered an era of Soviet disinformation, and they use Soviet censorship to attack and demean anyone who tells the truth. Unfortunately, we know the result of a society that goes this direction.
Well, that's right. I mean, persecution of the real press isn't coming. It's hardcore, over the top going on right now.
It's hardcore, and I've experienced it. You've experienced it.
Dinesh D'Souza's been put in handcuffs. He's experiencing it.
He's experiencing it. I've been, you know, had the IRS come after me and all kinds of operations against my bank account. They're using the tools of state. This is their method of operation from the beginning, from 1917. They use the tools of state to suppress any opposition and maintain a permanent hold on power.
Yeah, they call us rebels, to suppress rebels in the Communist Manifesto. And they call us, as you said, the counter-revolutionaries. They know we're the Americans. They call us the Americans. They're an occupying army.
That's what people got executed for in the Soviet Union, for being anti-Soviet. So if you're anti-Soviet, which is the commune, or believing in the fantasy of utopia with God on earth in the presence of Barack Obama, you are the enemy. You're the devil. Who is God's enemy? It's the devil. You're evil. So they never tell us why their ideas are good or bad, or why their ideas are better. They just say, we're progress and we're good and you're evil. This is the old game plan of...
Well, Obama keeps saying, George Washington, you know, would love what I'm doing. Paul Revere would. No one should question me. Don't talk about government being a danger. He's attacking the bedrock of American common sense.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you, though, in my new film, when I was running around the country, it's kind of like a Michael Moore-style film with actual, real common sense content. I go to Newark, the ruins of Detroit, slums of Chicago, and I can tell you that the people I met, they'd all been seduced by these utopian promises, living in cities that have been controlled by progressives for 50 years. And no one was progressing. They were all regressing. But talking to these folks, it's like you're at CPAC. I talked especially black people, black women, minorities. They sound like conservatives. They wanted a wholesome life. They did not want to be on welfare. They didn't want government handouts. They didn't want their kids smoking marijuana. They didn't want amnesty for illegals. They didn't want any part of this progressive agenda. So in my film, you'll see there is some hope that...
well, exactly. That's what's crazy is you talk to poor whites, poor blacks, Hispanics. They're pretty libertarian, but they're being forced into the system, which is the Cloward and Piven. Bankrupt everything so you don't have a choice.
Yeah, they were looking around their communities and saying it's getting worse and worse. Now, I met, and I show in the film, you'll see in the trailer, I met Peggy Joseph, if you remember her.
Yes.
She was a lady that said in Tampa at an Obama rally in 2008, Obama's going to pay for my mortgage. He's going to pay for my gas. Remember her? So I tracked her down, and she said, you know what? I did some reading, and I realized Obama wasn't who he said he was. He's a fraud. He's like the Wizard of Oz. And she did not vote for him again, and she can't stand the guy. So once a little education, if we can get through and give people the message and say, look, this progressivism is a road to regression, it's a road to hell, then they do come around. So I was actually inspired from my journey. I did find a lot of devastation from progressivism, but I saw people whose eyes were starting to open.
Yeah, they've been given so much of it, they're figuring out, you know, it's like a hammer over the head. You know, no more of that gift, please. We'll be right back with Joel Gilbert. I'm Alex Jones. On the front page of Infowars.com, there's a graphic with a quote by Glenn Greenwald, who I would call a real liberal. I mean, compared to these people, he's not a fascist. Saying, quote, she's surrounded by all these sleazy money types who are just corrupting everything everywhere, but she's going to be the first female president, and women in America are going to be completely invested in her candidacy. And he goes on in the article that Paul Watson wrote about to say that if you criticize her, it'll be misogynistic. This is the dumbing down. And I covered this, and after Joel leaves us, after we play the trailer and get into some other issues, where all over the country, at Dartmouth and you name it, they're banning taco bars that the different campus groups put on, because what's cheap and easy and tastes good and everybody likes tacos. Gosh, I mean, I probably eat 80% Mexican food. It's unbelievable. It's not because I'm racist. I grew up in Texas. I love it. It's really good food. The point is that You know, if you have a toga party at your university, it's not because you're against Greeks. Or if you have a fiesta, it's because it's a party. Now, we know that, but they want to set the precedent where they can ban anything and everything they want to. And then they dictate. So they're now saying the word bossy. It needs to be banned because it has a connotation to women. No, it's not. But if they can ban the word bossy, folks, they can do anything. And if they can ban now universities all over the country, because one person complains per university that I don't like this particular fraternity or school group having a fiesta out at their pool, what, can I not have a Hawaiian party? I've put on Hawaiian parties back when we had a house with a pool. Have 10, 15 friends come over, grill stuff, make it Hawaiian style, have a little tiki torches and Hawaiian stuff. I mean, wear a Hawaiian shirt. I mean, it's not against Hawaiians. It's like we're imagining we're in Hawaii. And I know you know that, but people say they're just idiots wanting to ban fiestas. No, they're not dumb. They're taking over. And they're doing it with fake moral high ground. We're going to play his trailer and go back to Joel Gilbert here in just a moment. Keep him just until about 45 after, then I've got to get to this Leanne McAdoo report on the fiestas. Should they be banned? The answer is, of course, ban them all. They're very racist. Everything's racist if the government says so. Please remember this broadcast is listener supported. We have great sponsors like mypatriotsupply.com/Alex to find their best specials. And they've got a lot of other great preparedness items, and they've got great customer service. If you don't have storable foods in times like this when they want you dependent, I think you're crazy. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. Check them out today. Also, InfoWarsLife.com is a subsection of InfoWarsStore.com. But if you type in InfoWarsLife.com, one word, it will take you right to the subsection that has the fluoride shield, nascent iodine with 5 other chelating detoxifiers. Amazing. The Super Male Vitality that blocks estrogen mimickers and helps your glands release the hormones that would normally be there, but the estrogen mimickers are blocking it. The fluoride shield, the silver bullet, proprietary supercharged colloidal silver. We've got the lung cleanse. We've got the Wake Up America coffee that I think is the best coffee out there, totally organic from southern Mexico and the volcanic high mountains there of Chiapas. It's all there at InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com. The best water filters, the best selection of non-GMO, open-air, non-hybrid seeds. InfoWarsStore.com. Free market. Free association, not taking your money like NPR and using it against you, not taking stimulus money like MSNBC and using it against you. We're here in the face of the enemy going in the info war, and we need your support with all the shortwave radios and all the other preparedness items and the InfoWars magazine in bulk at cost. All of it is key to the info war, available at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Now, I want to finish up talking with Joel Gilbert about where he thinks we are in this fight against the establishment and where this is going, because the so-called progressive communists, they are the establishment now, and they're just stealing everything in sight, total criminal force, with the Republicans bought off and controlled by them at the top, working to kill the Tea Party with Boehner and keeping Obamacare in place because there's corporate interests above this that want to use the communist system as their model of control, just like the big banks use communist China to have their people, billion-plus as slaves. But here is the trailer for the film coming out in a few months, Joel Gilbert's new documentary, Dealing with Utopia. There's no place like Utopia. Here it is. Marching down the Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, we're glad you landed in Oz. We've got a wizard here. He can solve your problems.
Because he's special.
You can keep your doctor. You can keep your plan.
People on welfare assistance here mostly?
That's the whole city.
We're going to replace capitalism with socialism. To remake the world as it should be.
Utopia. It's the kingdom of heaven on earth. That's what they believe.
Police state soon from Mr. Gilbert. I know it's going to be in theaters first. And I like his other films. You know, specifically, I'm not for the drug war, but I also know that now they have weaponized weed that turns people into literal zombies. I mean, the marijuana, and I've been honest about this, I smoked a little bit of marijuana in high school, never really liked it. And so I can speak to the power of it. When I'm out in California or in Colorado, I have smoked weaponized marijuana probably about once a year. And it's so strong, ladies and gentlemen, that 3 hits off of it, and I mean, you're definitely a different person. And I'm just being honest. The people out there that are ultra-conservative and neurotic about it, he smokes marijuana. At least I told you I inhale as a test. They have police smoke it every year so they can tell the effects of it. Yeah, absolutely. Dan Rather took LSD to see what was happening. The point is that I will tell you it's very destructive. But I don't think we put everybody in prison because they're using it. But it doesn't mean I endorse George Soros saying give it to everybody. I mean, you smoke this stuff now, it's got to be 100 times stronger than the pot my parents were around in the 60s. And the marijuana, the so-called best marijuana that I would smoke, you know, maybe once a month or something in high school at a party or something, that I didn't like. I'm like, why did I smoke that again? I hate it. The stuff they got now is unbelievable. It's a hallucinogen, basically, where you don't even know who you are. And so there's that, you know, I want to know first, I mean, your angle on the drug wars. I haven't seen the film yet, obviously. And then when we talk about all the, you know, the fact that the country's being converted to Latin America, the point is those people in the demographics are voting socialist, and so soon it'll be game over. I would all be for Latin Americans pouring in if they were, you know, Ron Paul types. But it is a demographic thing. The Democrats brag. They'll get the guns. They'll get our kids. They're going to get everything because the Hispanic wave coming in, that's the majority in most states now, somehow has been sold that the Democrats love them. Joel Gilbert, you've got the floor for about 5 minutes. Where do you see all this going?
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll first comment on the issue of the marijuana legalization and the drug war. You're obviously referring to back in the 60s. There's a reason they called it grass, because it pretty much tasted like grass and wasn't all that effective. It was more recreational. The marijuana that's being sold today and legalized in Colorado is a very potent form, and it makes the reason for it, it makes the population a little more docile and makes them easier to enslave and dictate to. Anybody who's been to a high school reunion remembers that everybody who did a lot of pot in high school, that nothing became of them. They're still smoking pot, they're hanging around with their old friends and doing some menial job, because there really are detrimental effects of marijuana on youth, and it leads to a lot of negativity.
Statistically, it does. There are some type A personalities that would have had a heart attack if they didn't have it. There are some executive types who do use it, but under controlled circumstances, like you have a glass of scotch on Saturday night, they're not drinking scotch 12 hours a day.
Right. You might be okay, but there's a lot of things that are detrimental that they don't want to let you know about. They'd rather make it legal and then use that to their advantage. The game plan of the Democrat socialists is to use every issue, if it's climate change, if it's income inequality, anything they can do to agitate the public, they do that to polarize people and then use that discontent to take and keep power. Obama is a professional agitator. He started his career in Chicago as a community organizer. But the word organizer was simply a nice word that was a little more acceptable to the public.
It's really, he's a foundation-run Al Sharpton.
Right. His job was community agitator. At that time, the white communists were not successful getting the black churches to join their causes in Chicago because blacks were religious people. They didn't want any part of this nonsense. So they send in a front man with a black face in Barack Obama to agitate the population, rub salt in their wounds about economic differences, and then use that discontent to take power.
And by the way, they wrote books admitting that. I mean, it's not like we're just saying this.
No, Obama not only studied this, but he taught this for 10 years. He was an acorn agitator, an organizer. So everything Obama says, whenever he opens his mouth, you have to remember he's a professional agitator. That's his only skill. He doesn't know anything about economics. He doesn't know anything about the Constitution or care about it. He only cares about agitating. So everything he says is intended to agitate and divide America. Unfortunately, as you know, Alex, the mainstream media and then some refused to question Obama about who he was and who his background, who his friends are, who's your real father. Why did you spend 20 years in the shadowy world of American Marxism And now you're saying you're a nice benevolent centrist. The inability of the media to do its job led us down this path to this point.
Sure. And I used to always think it was exaggerated or made up that he was a secret, radical Muslim or whatever, because I'm not, anti-Islam. I'm anti-radical Islam. But now we learn he is connected through his family in Kenya, laundering the money to overthrow the Egyptian government and put in al-Qaeda light. They're involved putting al-Qaeda in Syria, Libya. I mean, they're so evil.
Well,
they're so evil, I can't even believe it. These are like mega gangsters.
Well, it's a worldview they have, same as the Weather Underground, of world revolution, world agitation, and then using that, the problems and the chaos to take and maintain power and take away our liberties one after the other. That's why you see in the film, you can see the poster back here, there's Obama waving the American flag in one hand, God bless America, but behind his back he clearly has an agenda of Marxism and socialism that has nothing to do with American values. Obama has been assaulting the Constitution from the moment he started running for president, from the moment he supported Acorn in Chicago to attack Citibank and force them to change their lending standards, which set the ground for the subprime mortgage crisis.
Yeah, and then all the Democrats made money off of it. The only saving grace here is that there's such mafia criminals stealing stuff that they're not going to want total communism because they want to keep the loot they've stolen. The problem is they're now exempt from their own taxes in most cases, on record. Well, and that's the most dangerous perfect storm there, where they literally are above the law now. What do you think of Joe Biden's son being appointed to head up the state-run gas company groups, connected groups in Ukraine? I mean, this is getting too obvious.
Well, it's not that it's too obvious. It's that if they get away with things along the way, they just push it to the next level. They got away with Fast and Furious, so they could get away with Benghazi. They get away with Benghazi, they get away with the IRS scandal. So there's literally no opposition in the Democrat Party, no opposition in the media. They've crushed the opposition of the Tea Party using the tools of state. So with no opposition, they just do what they want and laugh at us. That's what it's come to.
So what do you predict now? I mean, they have just gang raped the country up one side and down the other, put al-Qaeda in charge of half a dozen countries, are just running around psychopathically shutting down our coal power plants as power prices explode. Obamacare is designed to bankrupt the country. Looks like it's just unbelievable. What happens?
Well, I'm hoping that my movie will lay it all out for everybody, and if we can get millions of people to come see There's No Place Like Utopia this summer, it exposes the entire progressive radical agenda, who these guys are, and it shows that the grassroots of America is completely against all of this nonsense that they peddle every day as public policy. So we're actually opening in Denver in July. We'll be announcing the theater soon. And from there, we're going to try to go nationwide.
Yeah, for those that don't know, it needs to sell out for a week at one theater. Then more theaters will order it, and then over the next few months, it'll go up to hundreds and then thousands of screens. And, again, I'm not getting paid to promote this film. I haven't even seen it yet. I support independent film, and I would just expect he'll give us a good deal on the DVDs as soon as those come out so we can sell them and help fund our operation while getting the truth out about the fact that this is pure evil. From my research, though, they've got communists and socialists mid-level and even high-level that are true believers. But most of them at the top are just hardcore gangster, psychopath control freaks who literally are just using this system as a tool of control.
Well, there's no question that a radical ideology like communism and Marxism attracts the worst, most deviant control freaks there are in the country who could care less about the ideology. They're there for the exploitation. And you see that throughout all of these communist regimes over time. And Obama's is filled with these types of...
Communism is a total hell pit. I mean, it's like begging to be sent to hell.
It's hell on earth. And it's a tragedy that we, the American, regular, average folks, don't really know and understand the history, that when you follow the yellow brick road to a magical person who's going to solve all your problems, when you arrive there, you arrive to hell on earth, not to paradise.
That's it. And, I mean, wow. They really are trying to set up an authoritarian hell pit. And they're hell-bent on doing it. They hate this country. Joel Gilbert, thank you so much. Leanne McAdoo's report, should we ban the word fiesta and all Mexican food? I'm serious. They're talking about basically doing that.
Every year, colleges across the country hold annual all-you-can-eat taco fiestas. But apparently, that was a little offensive to some this year. So they ban the word fiesta from college campuses. You can't wear sombreros. You can't wear racially insensitive cowboy and Indian costumes and all sorts of things. Have we gone too far? Should we make Fiesta change their name because it is racist and offensive to a handful of people? A lot of college campuses now are having to stop throwing parties that have a cultural theme because people find it offensive. A lot of parties were shut down for Cinco de Mayo, for instance. Why do you think people are offended by tacos, sombreros, tequila?
Just people just find a bunch of different like racial things, just like for instance, like you said, the taco shirt or like sombreros and stuff like that. They think like you're making fun of them type things or something like that, you know. So a bunch of people just have different perspectives on things like that.
I don't think it's racist. It's part of someone's culture. It's good to have different.
In different countries, they have American parties. So I don't understand. We don't think it's racist. We think it's kind of cool to see like they want to have our type of culture over there. So for us to be sensitive and to shut down Cinco de Mayo parties, that's going a little too far.
I'm the kind of guy that doesn't really get head offended that much, so I think a lot of it's blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
I understand being sensitive to people, but it seems like recently more and more they're getting more nitpicky about what to be offended about. It seems like being offended is the cool thing to be, so.
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, the students wear the...
Yeah, well, they basically say they can't have fiestas because having a fiesta is racist.
I don't think so.
What? Look at this liberated person here. Do you think that I should learn Spanish?
Spanish? Oh my God. Some sort of no English.
I feel like we've gotten very politically correct, taking it to the extreme.
Is that politically correct though? Is it? Or is it just being really sensitive like you're saying? Because I mean, we're here in America, we're supposed to be equality of any race. That's what we were built upon, and now it's like no, don't do that. You're too, I don't know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be about embracing other cultures, but now it's like, no, you can't do that because that doesn't represent me. In this particular case at Dartmouth, it was one girl that said she was offended, and the other students were like, why? It's just fun. It's a fiesta. They're not allowed to say the word fiesta.
It just seems like it's all the rage, you know?
Yeah, well, it seems like when you go to college and get a degree, that's the new thing, is to fight for these arbitrary offenses against your culture or this or that. Meanwhile, you know, they're playing white privilege blame games at some colleges, and like me as a white person, I'm not allowed to say anything because they're like, well, that's white privilege.
Yeah,
and
check your privilege. Yeah.
My mom didn't pay for me to go to school, but that's what they're saying, is that I had a privileged life and that I didn't work really hard. Should I be offended?
I would if I was in your situation. I would.
I mean, might as well. If
they were like, you didn't build that.
I tried. It's like I tried my hardest to get to where I am today, and for you to take that away from me, that's horrible. And then for them to say, no, we can do it for you, but you can't say anything bad about us. It's like, where's the equalness? I don't know.
Wow. Do you think it's okay that only white people should be able to have hamburgers?
No.
'Cause we did that.
No, I don't think it's okay. I mean, like myself, you couldn't tell that I'm mixed. My dad's black and white, and my mom is Mexican. So I was like, I got everything in me.
Well, apparently now America has become the place where we stop celebrating. It's the manila envelope of the world.
Manila envelope, like that.
Yeah, used it.
Interesting.